Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest. Here's a quote for this episode. Love is the answer. Our dear friend, John Duffin, Duffin Media is back. Not just a voice coach, but a mentor, an advisor, a friend, someone that you can rely on if you're smart enough and aware enough to lean in to his counsel. Yeah, I'm talking to you, listeners. Thanks for coming back, my friend.
Oh, brother, I'm thrilled that you're here. And by the way, the love is the answer part just speaks volumes of you because it is the answer. And I am not only a massive fan of. I was thinking this morning of the business you've built and the endurance and it used just leaning into the quote for a moment. There's lots of reasons I would imagine over this series of years that you could have been angry or I could be angry in the buildup. And this is it. You find that it's the positive reinforcement. It's the positive teachings and just the good sense that lean into people that are willing to throw you honest feedback, a little bit of love, and a boot in the right direction, and all of that, is what's got us here this morning. I'm
funny. I
thrilled to
want
be
your
here.
feedback on this because I find myself. You said when you could have been angry. I'm feeling like my immediate thought in that section, and it took awareness and love not to interrupt. Was like, I'm still angry. I thought, and then I thought, I spend time when I mess up. I'm really like on a Tuesday, you and I could be, we're not friends anymore. But on Friday, love is the answer forces me to call you.
Oh, I thought that was a real reality. I was getting all weird. Oh, okay.
So, like, meaning I make mistakes. I mess things up. I muddy these relationships.
Yeah.
I screw things up. I am still angry. This has been so painful to build this company and everything. My life, painful, and I don't want to be a victim. But so I'm still angry. Love's the answer to me reminds me like, oh, I got to call that person. I don't want to call them. I don't want to talk to them. I'm afraid of them. I still am too salty about it. So I'm bringing this up because I want your wisdom on this.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking. So for myself, I move better in a positive mindset, just me personally. And I always figure what I'm learning as I continue to build the business model and continue to roll forward is that you're rarely all by yourself with an opinion, and the old cliche, nothing's original. It isn't. But sometimes I can get triggered by the fact that this anger, this stoppage, whatever, is just me and you wouldn't understand. So I was thinking of somebody that was one of my former employees really early when I was managing in television, really early, right? I could hardly be defined as an all-star manager when I first started because I was all paranoia and neuroses and worried you were going to take my job. So there was somebody that we were two people. I was managing one person. And I'm thinking of her now because that she would get furious about things, just go at, but what she did, to her credit, she channeled that emotion into effort. Like she would just, all right, I'm going. And she would make like 1,000 phone calls. And like back when they had like fax machines, she was just going. That's not me. I don't work well in anger. And by the way, anger's real. I feel it. I still do. The problem for me is when I'm coaching, when I'm moving, when I'm doing anything personally or professionally, I don't work well in an anger mode. Anger brings me to fright. One of the things that I keep realizing is that there is one of the emotional component is so important in terms of business. However, not all of the emotional cues are going to work. Me being furious leads me to being scared, which means I stop moving. So I have to find ways to get past the anger, not ignore it, not act like it's not real, but I got to get past it. And that's when I'm coaching clients or even like when I'm doing a voice read, right? I can't go into a booth angry. You can't. Because
What
angry,
does it do?
not to get all philosophical, but angry to me is like selfish. I'm angry. I'm upset. It's really hard for me to, if I stay there, this business is taking longer. This didn't evolve. I had to pivot. All that's true. All that's true, by the way. But I can't use those emotions, those specific ones. I got to find the emotions that work and in a situation. So what gets me, as you just said, to I got to call this person. What gets me to do it,
What's our
and that's to me ain't anger, is the love part. Yeah.
Why do
Give
you
yourself
think
a little grace. Give them a little grace.
why do you think that this because I did put that on Facebook yesterday.
Right. Absolutely. I saw it.
Why do you think there's so much? It's like I say all these things that get, and then that I think are really sharp. And I'm like, oh, I real high on myself. Yeah, let me put this thought out there. And then all of a
Right.
sudden I just say, love is the answer. Because
Mhm.
I'm feeling love on such a crazy level yesterday. Why do I have so many people saying there's so much engagement, so much comments, so much
Right.
conversation? There's like, what do you think that is
Yeah.
about?
And the answer is I don't know, but I was one of them. So I'll just speak for me.
Oh,
You know what I mean? I'll just speak for me. I felt it too. There's a sense of relief that comes for me when it's like, okay, I can allow myself to feel that way. Or even if it's the most, who actually loves me? And then you rattle off a list. And if you're like
really?
most people, the list is a pretty damn good one. And that even means if it's one person. You know what I mean? My mom loves me. My family loves me. My siblings love me. My friends. So it's like there's a beautiful sense of relief that it's like, oh, okay. Then I can go help somebody. And that to me is the MO of, I believe, the best business leaders. I think I'm not sounding hippy dippy, and I'm not saying you have to sound Pollyanna. It's a matter of me moving forward. If I have to make a hard decision, come from a place of love. Don't come from a place of anger. You know what I mean? Like our parents from 50 years ago. You know what I mean? It's like come from a place of love, even if you have to do something that's not loving. Fire an employee. That's the most severe, right? The most severe. Come from a place of love. Understand they're going through something, so don't compound it with your stuff. You know what I mean?
How
That's
do you
all.
see people do that? How do we compound that?
Add your baggage. And it's the easiest way to say it. Add your own baggage to a volatile situation. And that's the most selfish part. Oh, well, see, the reason I believe that you need to be terminated is because, I had a problem. That's all you. That's all you. Let that part go. And any decision that's less volatile, coaching, self-improvement, improving performance, optimizing your communications, all of those, you can be direct. If you're coaching a team, look, we ain't playing here. I need you to do this. We need to move here. You can do that from a point of love. In fact, you should. But if you're adding your own, well, look, I got goals to hit here, and who you helping?
Does it separate the team?
I think so, because I think to me, that's the continuity factor. And some people may not like the choice of words. And I think that's all this really is, an aesthetic choice of words. But you hit a nerve when you said that, because your own engagement on the post told you so, right? That people are responding. So it's not coming from left field. Where's he going with this? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I don't have to be as tense when I'm in an organization trying to lead or following the leader.
What do you think? So why do you think? Like if everyone seems to agree that love is the answer,
right?
why I don't hear that a lot. Meaning, like, if I'm going to go into a corporate setting and say, and they're saying, they're asking, what's the solution to the culture?
Mhm.
And I come in and say, love.
Yeah.
And then they're going to,
And
my
they start laughing
visualization.
like I just did. And I'm laughing
Oh,
because I understand the reaction. I'll give you an example that I was thinking about, right? I lean more into emotion now than I ever have. And I was told years ago, I was going for a promotion at a television company. And I was up for a promotion and I was one of the leading candidates for it. And I'm laughing. It wasn't funny at the time, but I was just gonna say the experience now was. But I was told when I didn't get it, and I was out of my head because I felt like I was the odds on favorite and all that stuff, and all the communications were pointing in that direction. Someone else gets it. And the person was explaining their perspective to me. And what they said, and I'll quote, was something, oh, you are too emotional. See, you're too emotional. So that's why we chose X. So what did I do? Got more emotional and then went into anger freak out mode. And how dare you not see me and my qualifications, and just wrecked a great situation. And I'm laughing because people, I believe one of the things in corporate is they are coached, told it's just business. It's not personal. It's just business. And when people are making hard decisions, they're speaking like robots because they don't want you to see the emotion. And I'm saying love is such a broad base of a word. No one's saying fall in love. No one is saying run out into a field and have a picnic love. We are simply saying come. I believe what resonated to me was that coming from a place of contribution, service is coming from a place of love. You say culture matters. If I'm coming in ice cold, how am I helping the culture of an organization? How am I helping it grow? Because that's, if I'm coming in ice cold, that's all about me.
mm.
Keep your cool. Don't show emotion. That same day, another manager who was the best of the best. God bless her. She's passed away, and she was another manager. So she came to me. What's wrong? What's wrong? I'm like, what's wrong? And go all in. Right. The one sentence that she said that diffused the situation, which was perfect, was a simple line. She's like, John, no, don't worry about too emotional. She's like, that shows you have a heart. Keep the emotion. Just learn to channel it a little bit. Just learn to read a room and apply the proper emotion. And I'll add apply the proper amount of love in a situation. Use the hardest example and work your way down. What's the nicest thing you could do in a volatile corporate situation? Come from a place of love. Understand they got a job too. If it's a case of coaching, admonishing, administering, they have a job too.
Did that interaction with that
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
was that did that impact your life, do you think, at some
I
level?
still does. That's what I was going to say. To this day,
Wow.
I think of that when I'm working with people or using to this day, that it's like that to me. I don't love cliches like ahas, but you only hear it all the time. So, I mean, just maybe sometimes they're good because people will understand what I mean. But it's like in this day and age of manufactured ahas. Oh, how many ahas did you get out of it? I'm like, I don't know. That was one of them. Oh, I'm not less than. This person was trying to make me, the first one, trying to make me feel a little less than when they were explaining why I didn't get the promotion. The other person came from, it was the same thing. Neither one of them were giving a different answer. The other one was just saying, keep the emotion. That's why you're human. It just shows you're human, shows you have a pulse. That's why you're here. That's why you're valued, because of your emotion. And if you just channel it some, you'll be able to move. And that was one of the best things I was ever taught. One of the best lessons I've ever learned. And that was love. It was a very loving thing to say. I felt infinitely better that day.
Really?
Infinitely. The whole day changed for me. That was a rough day in that office. That by the end of the day, Karen Graham is her name, one of my biggest influencers.
Wow.
She was the best, and she knew exactly what to say. And then I was okay.
How important is it to have those leaders in cultures?
Crucial. I think you need a little bit of guts to be able to do that. That in organizations, I believe the HR culture, and I'm not speaking for all, just some of my experience was the colder you are, the more businessy things will be. And I believe they use it like a throttle. So to say that again, I'm sorry.
A little oxymoronic. The human resource becomes cold.
Oh, exactly. I learned that the hard way at the company that I left after 12 and a half years, that I watched the process. To me, the conversations between management and HR weren't cold. They weren't cold at all. But the important communications had to be cold because you couldn't show emotion, because you didn't want to come off as cracking.
What do you mean?
Yeah. So you were working with a team, and I'll give you an example. We're short of the revenue goal, and we've only got X number of days to get it. That would be a good time actually to show emotion, to come from a place of love. Everyone's job would be more secure. Everyone's, yours, mine, everyone's, when we hit the revenue number. Here's the vision of the company, and here's the plan that I see to get us there. If you're the leader, to come in as ice cold as if, okay, well, we're down by 37% and we've got 18 days. And if you divide the 37% by 18, that means we're going to have X per day. And love to begin that conversation is remembering you need these people. You need these people to perform. It is selfish in a way, but the fact is they got to help you and they got to want to. What are you going to do? Fire everybody? Organizations have done that. I've seen it. And it's senseless. So the model that I've created does come from a point of emotion. And I'm stealing the term EQ and emotional intelligence. People throw that around constantly. But to me, it's one of the most important facets of why real authenticity, from an individual perspective, how can you share authenticity? Use your emotional component, use your emotional intelligence properly. Demonstrate to people that it's okay to have emotion.
What were ways that you saw big company institutions undermine people's ability to be authentic or represent their emotion?
Yeah. So what I've seen, I gave the example at company, as I said, I'm not going to name the companies, but at company X with the promotion, right? I didn't get the job because you're too emotional. That to me was an ice cold thing to say because they were afraid to say what it really was, which was nothing, right? The answer is we like them better. That's the answer, right? How I was with 4, one independent television station and 3 large corporate companies over my broadcast ad sales career. I was with 4 majors, 1 independent. And I can remember, if I heard the question correctly, it's how do they undermine in that sense? People assume or we're splitting business and personal. And when you hit your goal, that was one thing. Then we could drop our guard, have a party. I remember the first time we hit a revenue number at a radio company. And so the emotion was that cheerleadery, when I look back on it, It was great. We hit the number, had some big wild party, and we were allowed to 2X and, go to Atlantic City and eat and drink and rah, rah, rah. I handled it badly, but that was me in the day. While drinking part, I took a little too literally, but that's another story for another day. But it was more the sense that you can blow off steam. We're cool with that emotion. We're cool with celebratory stuff. And now we're in a business mode and we'll have no emotion. Don't look, don't smile. We've got this. It's really hard to be authentic to me in either setting. Because the cheerleadery part is an individual thing. So that's, to me, a little bit of fake cheerleadery. The business setting, you're expected to be ice cold. Don't listen to people's contributions. How can we help? Don't listen to feedback. People are literally saying, I've had that happen. That happened to me personally at my last company. And it's one of my regrets was that one of my sales team was just simply trying to tell me something, a realistic assessment as to why something wasn't going to be sold where I wanted it to be sold. And it's the beauty of time is that you get to learn. The sad part is you regret the decision at that moment. And I didn't want to hear it. And I expressed that. I don't want to hear it. We need to get out and do something, right? So how do you undermine? Say to somebody, we don't want to hear it. How do you fix it? Listen to them. That's the nice part. The beauty of this is these are not hard fixes. And I can have regrets about individual decisions, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one.
I can recall saying exactly what you just said and then apologizing as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. Not all, I'm saying as I've grown from
the
work, like today I can say that when I fail as a leader,
right,
what you just said, I have to apologize immediately if I recognize
Go fast. Get it done fast.
I can't believe I just said that. I can't believe but I mean, it's funny how dramatic I get. I can't believe I just did that. I'm so much better than that.
I'm so above that. Well, apparently the answer is no, you're not.
That's so good. Yeah.
Right. Well, no, you're not. And because we're human. You know what I mean? It's
something about a quote with like a dog and it's chasing something and that's something's ego. I don't know.
Exactly. Well, I get that. So to me, you make the apology fast. And what I've learned, make it fast. And you hope it's enough. I still remember the cold, you've got too much emotion line as much as I remember the other line. So we were talking about earlier, moving in anger and what's how love is the answer and all that stuff. So to me, what do you do with all that? And my sense is I'll speak for me, business decisions that are business decisions, realizing that channeled emotion, love should always be, you're coming from a point of contribution, coming from a point of culture, you're coming from a point of service. People hear that and feel that, and I sense and suspect will believe you. So when you make that apology, I'll speak for me, when I made the apology to that team member, why that apology mattered, I feel like I got it right. I'm grateful only by the reaction, not because I'm anybody, but it was more, I got it right because I could see it in them, and the trick is something you've instilled, Jay, in terms of Culture Matters is show the picture. Show the picture. If you're apologizing in a business situation, explain a little bit where you were coming from. Hey, look, corporate was asking of us to deliver X number of dollars for this project. I agreed to it. Maybe I didn't convey that message as clearly to the team as I should have. It was something like that, right? We had set the goal. I should have brought you into the vision part. I couldn't bring you to the final decision. They make, I'm saying they can't, but you could have been in the vision. And this was the vision. This is the vision. So the vision is this. I looked at you from a point of leadership to be able to do X and so, and so and so. And I'm focusing on you because we're speaking together. So this is the vision, this is the expectation, and then this becomes the reality. So why, and then ask them questions that don't sound like defensive questions. I think we're coming short here. We need to hit the number, and they're going to keep grilling us. Our company, I'm not pointing fingers, our company is expecting this because the vision of the station, the office, blah, blah, blah.
How do we teach a defensive question for the audience, right? How do we?
Yeah, I'll give you an example.
How do we do it?
Yeah, here's a defensive question. Why do you think you're not hitting your goal? I can't even say without laughing because, like I said, what's in it for them? If you ask the same question,
go ahead. Sorry.
We agreed the goal is X. And how can I help you get there? Because we need you to be there. If you had the conversations prior, we've already agreed that we need you to be at X based on your experience, your leadership, your level of success, and you're not. So guide me a little bit, because this number we agreed upon, and by your skill set, experience, what have you, we need you there. How can I help you get there? Really, just guide me. I'll do it. How can I help you? And if I can do it, I will. If I'm able, then I'll do so.
Okay, let me see if I can follow.
Yeah.
The line of thinking.
Right.
Do you think, how can I, is there a servant? It's like the how is makes me think, how is like an opening for us to walk together somewhere?
Exactly.
How? So if you and me we're looking at each other.
Right.
If I ask a defensive question, there's a separation between us.
Boom.
Like we're gonna bump into each other. If I ask an open question, we're gonna work
together because we're a team.
Somewhere together. We're walking towards something rather than towards each other. I'm thinking like visually.
Yeah.
I'm walking towards you. We're gonna fight. Yeah, we're right. We're inevitably so how, and then my other curiosity is the what. So if and then maybe tone has to do, but
it absolutely does.
Do you think why challenges the person's core? So it could lead to an emotional defensiveness simultaneously. So it could almost create, if I'm defensive, I make you defensive.
Absolutely.
And if we're both, so I don't unpack that. Where are we? How do we?
Yeah. So the thing that I don't want when I'm communicating is I don't want to trigger a defensive emotion from you. The easiest way for me to get a defensive moment or emotion from you, a defensive emotion, you hear that and feel that because it's really singular. You're building teams, you are leading projects, you are trying to grow. But when you isolate somebody as if it's just them, that's the problem. Well, that's a defensive emotion. And here's an extreme. Don't shoot me is a defensive emotion. Don't hurt me is a defensive emotion. You don't want it. Going back to that part of love is the answer. Someone should feel that there's some sense of partnership, inclusion in team in regards to this. This does not dismiss the role of the individual or the responsibilities of the individual in any way, but anything that makes somebody feel all by themselves and alone leads to a defensive, and you're coming at them. We're a team. This is the responsibility. I assigned this role to you based upon, and the vision of the company is X. And we've talked, and the key is you've talked about this before, this is a reinforcement. If you're smart enough to show the vision of the company, the vision of the specific part of the company that you are in.
Okay, this is good.
And then the responsibilities of the individuals prior. When you're not in a why aren't we hitting these numbers mode, that's why it's so important to have the conversations before. You're reinforcing vision.
I wrote this down. So I wrote down, I don't want to trigger a defensive emotion from you.
Exactly. Emotion's great, but not all of them.
I will speak for myself here.
Yeah.
I wrote down secondly that truth kills, so I must love more.
I like that.
So let's say that I do say something,
Right.
because I believe my own autobiography undergirds this whole cultural experiment called culture.
Right. Well, you're right. I love it.
Meaning I've hurt so many people's feelings that I've and that I've like had to learn that if I want them in my life, I've got to love them more than however they feel after they feel when they've had me interact with them.
Right. The end game should feel like empowerment to that person. And if it is even a difficult conversation, no one is saying love is Pollyanna, and nobody is saying love shirks responsibilities. But all of the conversations from the hardest one on down, meaning releasing somebody from a company, I'll just say it's the hardest decision in a corporation, to that celebratory, we hit our number, let's all go eat and drink. And everywhere in the middle, I feel like the best conversations are inclusive. Business conversations, I'll say specifically, are inclusive, even the hard ones. What's inclusive in a tough conversation? The reminder that you've had conversations in the past. Look, just as a reminder, these are the goals that we set, that we agreed upon. These are the communications. This was the vision of the company. The reason we're having this conversation today is because there is shortfalls here. And we've discussed them in the past, and we've come to this decision based upon the lack of progress in those specific things that we've already covered. I think where businesses, corporations get confused, I think, is that they're afraid to say anything because you're going to go into like this mode of, hey, look, it's not my decision, or, I feel terrible. I feel terrible about this. And, I don't know what you're going to do. That's not really love. That is more selfish and singular. I feel bad. I don't know what you're going to do. I didn't do it. You knew, you're short. You're coming up short. Those sorts of things are really singular. You can have business conversations coming from a place of love and service and contribution. You can. I'm convinced of it.
Do you think that companies are more apt to be engaged with that as a conversation or a deliverable service?
I think, yeah, and I'll explain. One of the reasons I believe for you, your mission has been so important and why it resonates with so many people is because there is a complete line that you can draw from top to bottom, a complete line, and everyone has the vision, right? Everyone has the general idea of where you're going. They don't need every single detail, but they have a general understanding from my conversations with you, from the very bottom of the org chart to the very top. Everyone has some understanding as to why the business exists, what our goals are for X period of time, where we see growth and where we see challenges, and what we're going to do about that, and why you are, as a team or an individual, here. I believe that's what you're intending to do, and I'm not minimizing anything else. But I think the problem is that so often companies are task-oriented. The salespeople do this, and the programming people do that. I'm just speaking from the organization I came from. And the news department does this, and executive management's here, and HR is here, and they're aligned with this. But and I think authenticity, honesty, full-on honesty does not mean disclosing every company's secret. You don't have to. In a communication, vision is simply a big picture. When you're training, teaching, why love is the answer is because this is your part in the organization. This is why you are here. We need you to do X because you're an important piece of the cog in the wheel, or whatever cliche you want to throw around, but you're an important part, and it's needed. This role is needed, and we selected you to do it. But we need this role to function at X, you know what I mean, efficiency or whatever. And that's, to me, where love comes back.
People need to be reminded that they are a part of something bigger than just any one person, and that their contribution is actually making a significance.
It makes a significant thing. And
when it isn't, or when it's not perceived to be.
Right. It doesn't matter. I don't matter. I don't matter. The number, who cares?
What?
No, I'm saying if someone is coming from the other direction, I don't matter. Doesn't matter if I do this or not, because I don't matter. So why am I worried? Why am I wasting my time? And my thought is, the way that you can really get someone, or your best opportunities, obviously you hire well, but the best way to retain people, and it works for hiring too, is to coach them in the sense of, here's the overall picture. You are a part of this picture. The person, individual, is the last part of the spoke. We define the role as X because this is what we needed in the vision, and that's what we communicated. Your role, I'll say, as a salesperson to increase your revenue numbers was this. We brought you into this part to fill this need, and we've explained that. You're coming at 60% of efficiency, and that represents a problem with the entire org. And it has nothing to do with you personally. It has everything to do with, this is the part, and that's why we described it, and this is the overall vision. And this part needs to be filled. And that's where we need, and how can I help you get there? Rather than, you're a problem, you have too much emotion, you're not selling enough.
And for someone to really hear that feedback in that form, they would really have to trust the counterpart.
Yeah, but they matter. They matter. As individuals, they matter. And I tend to, when I'm coaching and training or whatever, I tend just to keep going back to that point. We brought you in to fill this role. This role matters because of X. And the expectation was you were going to do Y. And we agreed to it at the hiring, at the evaluation, whatever it is. And we agreed to this. And it's not here, or it is here, and you're doing fantastic. And my thought is, if you could handle this responsibility, you're coming from a positive MO. Look, you're over delivering here. When we have the chance to increase X, we want to talk to you about this. We're thrilled about that you do Y. A couple of things that you could work on to get from here to here would be X. It's a lot of rambling on my part, but I'm just simply saying, I think it's a very clear path that you can walk.
I don't believe that this is gold.
Thank you.
Because I'm thinking, all right, let's follow this thought experiment here.
Okay. Right? Yep.
That idea that, if I've hired, I'm going to say in hindsight, I hired, right. I'm the one in a position of authority.
Yeah.
Control, let's say. Mm-hmm. And now the narrative is going to change based on, because I hired person A.
Right.
And in the beginning of the relationship, which was based on assumption, I made the right hire. That's what I tell the people around me. That's what I tell myself.
Sure.
At the end of the relationship, that narrative has changed. I'm going to say, it was a bad hire. To me, that's like saying, yes. It's that person that every time you meet with them, they tell you what an awful human being their ex was. When they picked them. And so what's helped me in my navigations in this world, interacting with people in power, is to not negate the very, very factual possibility that the ex could have been a psycho murder killer, because that happens.
Exactly.
but just remind them that a part of them is a part of them, a part of me, all of my enemies, chose my enemies.
Oh,
So there's a part of me, even if it's 0.001%, and I would just want to say, personally, I think it's a lot higher than 0.0001%.
right. I know mine is, but go ahead.
Let's just say it's 50-50.
Yeah.
I'm asking myself in a position of power.
Mm-hmm.
What did I miss? Did I listen? What did I not ask?
Mm-hmm.
How did I communicate?
Mm.
What did I not say? Who was I then? Something me and my enemy share today is, if we haven't talked in a while, is I also didn't like who I was then.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I try to think.
Love all
So I
that.
just wanted to add that in, is that
Yeah.
you made me this idea come to mind that, you know, if we do a thing, if we go on a journey together, we're working together.
Right.
Our expectations of each other are inevitably, and of the case and of what we're doing,
Yeah.
inevitably going to change based on things that are out of our control. Because so we have to constantly be communicating with one another. And what I'm getting from you is,
there you go.
How you communicate is going to increase or decrease the defensiveness, which could lead. This is the love more thing.
Yeah.
If you get defensive of me, I have to love you more than whatever defensiveness you are.
Right.
So if I want the relationship, now this is the thing. The question becomes, why would I ever not want the relationship?
Which is a great question.
What kind of life do I want to live? Do I want to live a life where I could just recycle everyone?
Oh my God.
I'm born in this world. You're born in this world. Every person that we ever meet in this world is a part of who we are.
Your
We're
growth,
getting the
your journey, all of it. Yeah.
So I'm trying to say, I'm not trying. I'd like to know everybody that I've ever met.
Yeah. It's funny.
You know,
I laugh because I just did
life.
something.
So I lived my whole life. I'm at the end of my life, on my deathbed. I met 100,000 people. The question I'm asking myself is, how many of those 100,000 people that I interacted with before my death, my graduation, did I leave where I'm in their story? I'm Karen. No, I meant, that's interesting coincidence. No, you know that thing with not your Karen. Actually, that's a double entendre. You know, Karen has become that like thing today.
Oh God. Do you know it took me a minute to get there? What you were just trying to say. Oh my God. Sorry.
No,
right.
I too.
I got you. Now I got you. Sorry. No, I had one of my dearest friends, family members.
Oh my God. Think about
her name is Karen. Like, so it's the worst.
The light.
You know what I mean? To think I throw that name around constantly.
We really
God, don't be a Karen.
Yeah, we really.
You know what I mean?
So
and then I think of my friend Karen.
I'm going to use antagonist.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm going to use the word antagonist.
Okay.
But I do think it's interesting that one of the most inspiring people in your life was named Karen, and our culture today.
Yep. Two, as a matter of fact. Two of them are named Karen.
In our culture today,
right.
You know, is the Karen, the bad person, the Karen.
Yep.
So anyway, the antagonist. I'm asking myself, my ability to love in this world, I think, is tied to that question at the end of my life. How many people that I met and interacted with,
right,
were in their story, I'm whoever told you that you were too emotional.
Exactly. And change the trajectory of future business decisions.
Now, to give myself, I guess, to let myself off the hook, maybe you wouldn't be so great today if that person wasn't mean to you.
Oh, I think that's all 100% true.
But
so it's 100% true.
Side of wanting to, like, the question becomes,
Mm.
should they call you today and say, hey, by the way, when we had that interaction,
Right.
I really didn't mean that? Or are you
Mm.
going to call them?
See, that's a beautiful question, because I really believe, talk about a mic drop, that to me is a beautiful response, because it's the best they had at the time. And my thought was, all of the beating up that I've done of myself, of didn't communicate this to that employee, should have said more of that to that person, you spend a lot of unnecessary time. What can you do? Do I need to go back and call the person where I didn't give a complete enough picture 10 years later? And my thought is no.
This
No,
is
do it
where,
the next time.
well, but this is the grenade that I want to throw. Listen,
Okay.
I
Right.
don't know if this is the answer, because that would be like, why would I know? I didn't make this game. Why would I know the cheat codes in life? I didn't make like I didn't choose to be born. Why? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure it out just like you,
Exactly. And I don't either.
being alive in this world, right? So
Mhm.
but this is what my idea I'm trying to follow, see if
Right.
it works. The reason that I think I get value, the reason all I have is it's so interesting.
Mhm.
All I have is time.
Mhm.
All the other stuff is kind of how, based on what I do with my time, benefits, you get clothes. Like if I'm working, if we're striving for all this, what, success,
Yeah.
like in a deeply philosophical sense,
Mhm.
we're striving for success. So more resources are allocated. We get clothes, we get food, we get shelter, we get stuff, right?
Mhm.
I'm thinking I gotta call that person because all I have is time.
Right.
Now, I know that sounds contradictory to what you're saying,
Mhm.
because you're right from a literal sense. We're
Mhm.
running out of time.
Yeah.
Right? We are. You're
Mhm.
also right. We don't have time. What are
Mhm.
you gonna call every person that you ever met that you think you looked at the wrong way?
Yeah. And
And
I
I'm
would say
telling
that's a
you,
hard pass of an answer.
and
I'm going to give it a hard pass of
but
that.
I
I'm
just
just,
want to let you know that
yeah.
as long as we know each other,
Right.
my experiment with this
Mhm.
life, and then you could laugh at me when you see me
Nope,
choking
I won't.
on my deathbed,
Mhm.
because you'll be alive. You'd be like 100. You could say,
I'm way
Jay,
older than that, but go ahead.
Jay, you were wrong, dude. You spent all that time calling all these
Right.
people and making things,
Right.
trying to make things right. You didn't end up doing shit. And I'm gonna say, damn, you're right. That was a stupid play. Fucking, that was stupid.
And you won't, and you still won't be wrong, brother. My
I don't.
thought is,
Yeah.
it's less beating up of yourself. That if
All I
you
do,
want to like grab it, less
all I
beating up
do
of
is beat
yourself,
myself.
right? Me too. And it's like that relentless sense of
But I say,
I
what greater gift? What greater gift?
Mhm.
What greater gift to just spend my whole life beating myself up?
Right.
It's a gift.
It's a gift, as long as it doesn't stop you from doing what your real gift is.
But that's what I think my gift is, beating myself up. Like, is in closing, how do
Yeah.
what's the value to the audience at this
Mm.
point from outside of hearing us beat each other over the head with this
Right.
idea of love? The closing statement, John Duffin. Thanks for coming back.
Okay. First off, give yourself a little bit of grace. Number one, give yourself a little bit of grace. Put the whooping stick down for a moment. You want to exhibit love is the answer. Give yourself some. Number one. Number two, remember you get it next time, likely. So take advantage of what you've learned the next time. Those experiences are there for a reason, so that you can get a little more compassionate and loving. Help your team. So give yourself some grace, help those around you, and keep coming from a point of contribution, because ultimately that's going to help your organization. It's going to help you personally. And I think it moves the needle a heck of a lot faster than continually kicking yourself in the backside to, I just think you move better and you help more people.